The modern world feels loud, but noise is not the real problem. Most people believe they are distracted because too much is happening around them. Messages arrive, screens flash, someone speaks, something moves, and the mind jumps. It feels as if attention is being stolen from the outside. But what actually breaks first is not attention. It is balance. When the inner center is steady, many things can happen without pulling it apart. Sounds can rise and fall. Events can come and go. The mind stays where it is. When that center weakens, even small things begin to lead it. A passing thought, a small worry, a single word on a screen. Each one pulls, and the mind follows. This is how distraction really begins. Not with chaos, but with the loss of a fixed inner bearing. When that happens, the mind becomes light and easy to move. It starts being led by whatever happens to appear. The old strategists warned about this. They said a person who lets small movements guide them no longer sees the field. Their vision narrows. Their timing breaks. They are no longer where they are. They are always being dragged a step behind what just happened. That is what distraction feels like. You sit in front of your work, but your mind moves somewhere else. You are with someone, but you are not fully there. Your eyes are open, but you do not see the whole. The inner structure that holds perception together has loosened. This is why trying harder does not fix it. Pushing focus only adds more strain to something that has already lost its balance. The spirit becomes rushed or tight, and a rushed spirit breaks even faster. A calm mind is not stiff. A calm mind is not loose. It is settled. When the inner center is settled, nothing small can pull it. Thoughts pass. Sounds come and go. The mind remains where it stands. Modern life did not create distraction. It only shows it more clearly. The screens and signals are not the cause. They are the test. They reveal whether the inner center is firm or weak. This is why some people remain clear in chaos, while others feel scattered even in silence. One has a stable inner ground. The other is being moved by every small thing. Distraction is not about how much is happening. It is about how much the mind is being led. In the way of the samurai, attention was never treated as a soft skill. It was treated as a matter of life and death. A warrior did not survive by staring harder at one thing. He survived by seeing the whole field. He watched the space between movements, not just the movement itself. He sensed timing, not just position. This was called perception. It was deeper than sight. Sight sees what is in front of the eyes. Perception feels what is about to happen. A distracted fighter sees only the blade. A skilled fighter sees the man, the space, the rhythm, and the next moment that has not yet arrived. This is why fixation was dangerous. When the mind locks onto one point, everything else disappears. The body becomes slow. The timing breaks. The enemy is no longer met in the present moment, but in the memory of what just happened. That is how initiative is lost. In combat, whoever controls the rhythm controls the fight. If one person is busy reacting, they are already behind. They are being led. Their spirit follows the other person's movement instead of standing on its own. The samurai trained to prevent this. They did not try to think faster. They trained to be earlier. A calm spirit does not rush. It is already there when the moment arrives. This is why true skill looks quiet. The best warrior does not look busy. He looks still. Inside that stillness is a wide field of awareness. This is what it means when it is said that the calm warrior sees more, not less. When the spirit is rushed, it narrows. When the spirit is steady, it widens. In a wide state, small tricks and false movements lose their power. The warrior is not fooled by what looks urgent. He feels what is real. This is where the idea of fixedness comes in. A fixed mind is a dead hand. It holds too tightly to one idea, one fear, one target. Once it grips, it cannot move freely. The enemy can feel that stiffness and use it. A living mind is loose without being weak. It can shift. It can open. It can close. It is not trapped in one shape. This is why attention was trained as structure, not effort. The samurai did not force themselves to stare harder. They trained the way their spirit stood. When the spirit is balanced, attention naturally rests on what matters. When the spirit is unbalanced, attention scatters no matter how hard one tries. Speed also had a different meaning. Fast does not mean rushed. Fast means in time. A person who moves with correct rhythm may appear slow, but they are never late. A person who is busy and quick is often out of step. They are reacting instead of leading. The old warriors knew this. They did not chase the moment. They met it. This is the heart of attention in the warrior's world. Not narrow focus, but wide clarity. Not force, but timing. Not strain, but a spirit that stays in its place while everything else moves around it. This is how distraction was defeated before it could even form. Distraction does not begin with a thought. It begins with a change in how the mind sees. Before the mind decides anything, the field of awareness quietly shifts. What was wide becomes narrow. What was open becomes tight. The eyes may still be looking forward, but the inner gaze has moved into a tunnel. This is the first stage of distraction. In the old way of strategy, this was understood through what was called the twofold gaze. One part of the mind sees small details. The other part sees the whole. One is called sight. The other is called perception. Sight notices movement, color, shape, and noise. Perception senses timing, direction, and meaning. When these two are balanced, the mind is clear. It can notice details without being pulled by them. It can see the whole while still seeing what is near. When distraction begins, that balance breaks. Sight takes control. The mind becomes caught by whatever is closest, loudest, or newest. A word on a screen, a feeling in the chest, a sound in the room. Each one feels important because the field of awareness has shrunk around it. The whole is lost. This is why distraction feels urgent. It is not because something is truly important. It is because the mind has lost its distance. It no longer sees near and far in the correct way. The old strategists used a simple image for this. They said distant things should be seen as if they are close, and close things should be seen as if they are distant. This does not mean blurring the eyes. It means keeping the mind at the right range. When something is close, it tries to pull the mind in. When something is far, it tries to be ignored. Both can be mistakes. The clear mind holds both in balance. When that balance breaks, small movements begin to lead the mind. A tiny thought becomes a big worry. A short message becomes a long spiral. A small feeling becomes the whole moment. This is how attention is stolen. Not by force, by narrowing. Once the field is narrow, effort makes it worse. Trying to focus harder only tightens the tunnel. The mind presses forward, and in doing so, loses what is around it. More is missed. More is misread. More tension builds. This is why people feel more scattered when they try to concentrate. They push sight instead of restoring perception. A wide mind does not need to try. It already sees. A narrow mind is always straining because it is blind to most of what is happening. This is also why multitasking feels exhausting. The mind jumps from one small point to another, never returning to the wide field. Each jump costs energy. Each shift pulls the spirit further off center. Over time, the inner structure weakens. The person may sit still, but the mind is being dragged by every small thing. It no longer chooses what matters. It reacts to what appears. This is the hidden shape of distraction. It is not laziness. It is not lack of discipline. It is a collapse of perception into sight. When that happens, even silence can feel noisy. Even simple tasks can feel heavy. The mind is no longer standing in the open. It is trapped in a narrow passage of its own making. And from inside that narrow space, no amount of effort can bring back the wide view. The solution must come from restoring the field, not tightening the grip. What stopped distraction in the samurai was not stronger focus. It was something much deeper. They understood that attention is a result, not a cause. When the inner structure is clear, attention naturally rests on what matters. When the inner structure is crowded, attention scatters no matter how hard it is pushed. This is why the true solution was never to control the mind. It was to clear it. The old strategists called this state no design, no conception. It does not mean acting without thought. It means acting without inner noise. The mind is not filled with plans, fears, or self-talk. It is not arguing with itself. It is not guessing or rehearsing. It is empty of clutter, but full of awareness. From this state, action is clean. Movement happens without delay because there is nothing blocking it. There is no inner debate to slow it down. There is no fixation pulling attention away. This is the core of the forbidden principle. Clarity comes first. Attention follows. Most people reverse this. They try to force attention while the mind remains crowded. They try to focus while still carrying worries, memories, and imagined futures. That is like trying to see clearly through dirty glass. The more you strain, the worse it gets. The samurai cleaned the glass instead. They called this clarity the void. The void was not emptiness in the sense of nothing. It was emptiness in the sense of no distortion. When the clouds of confusion fall away, what remains is a mind that sees what is there without adding anything to it. In this state, nothing pulls the mind because nothing inside is pulling first. This is why distraction could not form. Distraction needs hooks. It needs thoughts that catch. It needs emotions that cling. It needs inner stories that keep replaying. When these are absent, there is nothing for small movements to grab. A sound passes. A thought appears. A feeling rises. And then they go. Nothing sticks. This is also why the samurai did not rely on willpower. Willpower fights what is already there. The void prevents the clutter from forming in the first place. When the mind is in this clear state, action becomes natural. This is what was meant by natural rhythm. A person who moves in natural rhythm does not force speed. They are simply in time. They are not early. They are not late. Their actions arise from the situation itself, not from a plan inside the head. This removes hesitation. Hesitation is the sound of two thoughts arguing. Clarity has only one direction. When there is no design and no inner picture being protected, the mind is free to move with what is real. It does not need to check itself. It does not need to decide what to do. It sees and then it acts. This is why the samurai appeared calm even in danger. Their minds were not crowded with what if or what next. They were not trying to manage attention. Their perception was already open. The field was wide. In a wide field, nothing feels urgent unless it truly is. In a wide field, false signals lose their power. The mind does not chase every small movement because it can see how small they are. This is the true meaning of being undistracted. It is not a tight grip on one thing. It is a wide openness to everything. From that openness, the right thing stands out on its own. This is why all surface methods fail. Timers, rules, and tricks only work when the mind is already quiet. When the inner space is crowded, they become more noise. The forbidden principle is not a technique. It is a condition. When the inner sky is clear, attention falls into place by itself. When the inner sky is cloudy, nothing can hold it steady. This is how the samurai ended distraction before it could even begin. Modern life feels like it is designed to distract, but that is only half true. What modern life really does is press on the weak points of the mind. It moves fast. It changes often. It sends signals without pause. When the inner center is not firm, these signals begin to pull attention apart. In the old world of strategy, this was called being led by the enemy's tempo. If the opponent moves quickly, the untrained fighter becomes rushed. If the opponent moves slowly, the untrained fighter becomes lazy. In both cases, the fighter is no longer in control. His spirit is being shaped by something outside him. This is exactly what happens in modern life. Messages arrive with urgency. News changes by the hour. Work shifts without warning. The rhythm of the outside world becomes the rhythm of the inside. The mind speeds up, slows down, tightens, or loosens based on what it is reacting to. This is not strength. It is being led. A stable spirit is not fast or slow. It is settled. It does not become excited when things are loud, and it does not become dull when things are quiet. When the spirit stays in its place, the outer world can change without breaking it. Most people do not live this way. Their attention is tied to outcomes, to approval, to fear of loss, to the hope of gain. Every message feels like it might change who they are or what their future will be. This makes every signal feel important, even when it is not. This is how identity becomes a trap. When who you are depends on what happens next, the mind cannot rest. It must watch everything. It must react to everything. It must be ready for danger and reward at all times. This constant readiness creates tension. That tension creates noise. That noise creates distraction. Technology does not cause this. It only speeds it up. 8,000 years ago, a rumor in a village could pull a mind away. Today, a headline can do the same. The medium has changed. The weakness has not. The old strategists knew this. That is why they trained not to be influenced by the opponent's rhythm. They did not let the other side decide their speed, their timing, or their spirit. Modern systems try to decide all three. They tell you what is urgent. They tell you what matters. They tell you what to feel. If the inner center is weak, the mind obeys. This is why willpower fails. Trying to resist a fast world with force is like trying to hold back a river with your hands. The spirit becomes overactive. It tightens. It tires. Then it breaks. The opposite also fails. Trying to escape by becoming numb makes the spirit passive. It drifts. It loses clarity. It is no longer present. Both are forms of being controlled. The old way was neither. A calm spirit is not stiff and not loose. It is present. From that presence, it chooses what deserves attention and what does not. Many things are seen. Few things are followed. This is also why the rule of doing nothing useless mattered. When the mind is filled with small, useless actions, it becomes scattered. When it moves only with what is needed, it stays clear. Modern life fills every gap with something. The mind never rests in open space. This is why people feel tired even when they do nothing. The problem is not that life is busy. The problem is that the inner rhythm has been surrendered. When rhythm is lost, everything feels like a threat. When rhythm is kept, even chaos becomes manageable. Modern life multiplies distraction because it presses on a mind that has forgotten how to stand still inside. Distraction does not come from too many things. It comes from holding one thing too tightly. The old strategists called this fixedness. A fixed mind is a dead hand. It grips, and because it grips, it cannot move. When the mind locks onto one goal, one fear, or one idea of who it must be, everything else disappears from view. This is where attention becomes trapped. A goal can become a cage. A fear can become a blindfold. An identity can become a wall. Once the mind fixes on one of these, it stops seeing the field. It sees only the thing it is holding. All movement is judged by how it touches that one point. Everything else is ignored. This is why fixedness is weakness. In a fight, a fixed stance is easy to break. In life, a fixed idea is easy to disturb. When something unexpected appears, the fixed mind cannot adjust. It becomes tense. It becomes slow. It begins to react instead of act. This is the hidden cause of distraction. When the mind is fixed on a future result, it watches every small sign for proof or danger. A single email feels heavy. A short delay feels like failure. The spirit tightens and attention scatters into 100 small checks. When the mind is fixed on fear, every small change becomes a threat. It scans the world, not to understand it, but to defend against it. That scanning is mistaken for awareness, but it is only tension. When the mind is fixed on identity, It must protect its image. It listens too closely. It watches too carefully. It becomes pulled by how it is seen. All of this creates the same result. The mind is no longer free to move. It is caught. This is why multitasking is so damaging. Each task demands a small piece of identity, a small fear, or a small goal. The mind jumps from one to another, never releasing any of them. It carries many fixed positions at once. The field of perception breaks into fragments. Nothing is fully seen. Nothing is fully met. This is not efficiency. It is disintegration. The old strategists warned against fixed formation for the same reason. A fixed army could be predicted. A fixed mind can be manipulated. When the shape never changes, the enemy knows exactly where to strike. Small movements begin to pull the mind because the mind is already holding something rigid. A tiny shift in the outside world causes a big reaction inside. This is why people feel controlled by notifications, messages, and news. They are not being attacked by the world. They are being pulled by what they are gripping. A loose mind without fixedness is not careless. It is responsive. It can take shape without being trapped in one. It can care without clinging. This is the living hand. When the mind is living, small movements do not lead it. They are noticed, then they pass. The mind stays with what truly matters. When the mind is dead, even the smallest motion can shake it. This is the enemy you do not see. Not technology, not work, not noise, fixedness. And until that is released, no amount of effort can bring real clarity. The samurai did not train to concentrate harder. They trained to see more. From the beginning, their discipline was built around perception. Not narrow focus, but wide awareness. Not holding the eyes on one thing, but feeling the whole space at once. This was done through what was called the twofold gaze. One part of the gaze sees detail. The other sees the whole. The samurai learned to use both at the same time. The eyes could rest on one place, while the mind stayed open to everything around it. This made it impossible for small movements to steal attention. When this was trained deeply, a warrior could look at one opponent and still sense the room, the ground, the timing, and the next threat. Nothing felt hidden. This is how awareness stayed wide under pressure. Pressure usually makes people narrow. The heart speeds up. The breath tightens. The eyes lock onto danger. But the samurai trained the opposite. When pressure rose, their awareness widened. This is why their actions seemed calm even in chaos. They also trained rhythm. Every situation has a tempo. Some moments are fast. Some are slow. Some are waiting. Some are breaking open. The skilled warrior does not rush or hesitate. He matches the rhythm of what is happening and steps into it. This is how initiative is taken. Initiative is not being aggressive. It is being earlier than the other mind. It is seeing where things are going before they go there. This was called forestalling. To forestall is to move in front of the opponent's intention. The samurai watched not just what the other person did, but what they were about to do. A shift of weight, a change of breath, a flicker of the eyes. These signs were felt through perception, not thought. Once intention was sensed, it was met before it could grow. This was also known as holding down the pillow. The idea was simple. Do not let the other person's head rise. Do not allow their plan to form. As soon as movement began, it was met and settled. This prevented the opponent from gaining momentum. This is how distraction was prevented. A small thought begins. It is met before it grows. It is gone. This is not suppression. It is timing. The samurai did not wait until something became strong. They felt it when it was still small. Then it was easy to deal with. They also trained how to change their inner size. This was known as rat's head, ox's neck. When attention became trapped in something small, they shifted into a large spirit. When something large felt heavy, they shifted into a small, precise spirit. This kept the mind from being locked in one shape. It allowed perception to stay flexible. This is why fixedness never took hold. The mind could expand and contract as needed. It could meet a small detail without losing the whole. It could face a great threat without becoming overwhelmed. And beneath all of this was the body of a rock. This did not mean being stiff. It meant being unmoved inside. No matter what happened, the inner center did not shake. Emotions could rise. Sounds could come. Danger could appear. The core stayed steady. From this steadiness, perception remained open. This is how the samurai could walk through confusion without being confused. This is how they could face danger without panic. This is how they could see without strain. They did not manage attention. They lived in a way where attention did not need to be managed. This training took years. It was not about learning tricks. It was about becoming a different kind of mind. A mind that stayed wide, calm, and clear even when everything around it moved. This is what real awareness looks like when it is trained at its roots. The same forces that shaped the battlefield now shape modern life. The setting has changed, but the laws have not. Work pulls the mind with deadlines, messages, and shifting priorities. Creative work pulls the mind with ideas, doubts, and comparison. Social life pulls the mind with approval, conflict, and constant signals. In each case, the danger is the same. The outer world sets the tempo. When that happens, the inner rhythm is lost. This is what was once called being led by the enemy's pace. The mind moves when something outside moves. It speeds up when pressure rises. It slows down when energy fades. Over time, it forgets how to hold its own rhythm. This is why modern work feels exhausting even when little is done. The mind is always adjusting to something else. It is never at rest in itself. In creative work, the same thing happens. An idea appears. A doubt follows. A comparison enters. The mind reacts to each one. The inner field becomes crowded. Instead of clear movement, there is inner noise. Instead of natural flow, there is hesitation. This is not lack of talent. It is loss of inner clarity. The old strategists would say the mind has lost no design, no conception. Too many inner plans. Too many imagined futures. Too many private arguments. Nothing moves cleanly when the mind is full. In social life, the same pattern repeats. Words, reactions, and opinions arrive. Each one pulls at identity. Each one asks for a response. The spirit becomes tense. Attention fractures. The mind begins to live in other people's eyes. This is the enemy's tempo again. The solution was never to block the world. It was to change position inside it. This is where distanced gaze becomes important. Modern life keeps everything close. Every headline feels urgent. Every message feels personal. Every small event feels large. The mind loses its range. Distanced gaze restores that range. When close things are held at a distance, they lose their power to pull. When far things are seen clearly, they can be met without fear. The mind is no longer trapped by what is nearest. This does not require changing what happens. It requires changing how it is held. This is what was meant by renewal. Renewal does not mean resting. It means shifting the spirit. The situation stays the same. The work remains. The people remain. But the inner rhythm changes. The mind returns to its center. From there, action becomes clean again. A message arrives. It is seen. It does not pull. A problem appears. It is felt. It does not flood the mind. This is not ignoring reality. It is meeting it without distortion. When inner rhythm is restored, fragmentation fades. Tasks no longer feel heavy. Creativity flows without strain. Social contact becomes clearer and quieter. The world has not changed. The position has. This is why techniques fail. They try to change behavior while the inner rhythm remains broken. The samurai worked the other way. They restored the rhythm first and behavior followed. No design, no conception is not a trick. It is a state where the mind stops arguing with itself. When that happens, even in a busy modern world, attention falls where it belongs. Not because it is forced, but because nothing is pulling it away. There is a state the old warriors spoke about with great respect. It was not excitement. It was not effort. It was not even courage. It was stability. They called it having the body of a rock. A rock does not push against the river. It does not resist the wind. It simply remains where it is. Water moves around it. Air passes over it. The rock stays. This is what an unfixed mind feels like. Thoughts come. Sounds arise. Events unfold. But nothing inside is shaken. This is not numbness. It is clarity. When the inner center is stable, distraction loses its grip. Not because it is blocked, but because it has nowhere to attach. There is no fear to catch. No story to feed. No identity to defend. Everything is seen. Nothing is clung to. This is what the old strategists called the void. The void was not empty in a dull way. It was empty in a clean way. When confusion, worry, and private noise fall away, what remains is a mind that sees without distortion. It does not add. It does not subtract. It simply knows what is there. From this state, presence becomes natural. The eyes are open. The body is here. The mind is not elsewhere. There is no effort to stay present because there is nothing pulling it away. This is the great difference between control and stability. Control is tight. Stability is calm. A controlled mind is always watching itself. A stable mind simply stands. This is why few people reach this state. It cannot be forced. It cannot be faked. It comes only when fixedness has dissolved and rhythm has been restored. In this state, time feels different. Moments do not rush past. They arrive, are met, and leave. Nothing is lost because nothing is being chased. This is what it means to be unmoved. Not cold, not distant, but deeply settled. A mind in this state can face pressure without panic. It can face silence without restlessness. It can face uncertainty without fear. This is the quiet power the samurai respected most. Not the power to strike, but the power to remain. When this is present, distraction no longer needs to be fought. It simply fails to appear. The last thing to understand is also the first. Focus is not something the mind creates. It is something that appears when perception is whole. When the field of awareness is wide and clear, the right thing stands out on its own. There is no need to search for it. There is no need to hold on to it. It simply becomes the center because everything else is seen in its proper place. This is what the old strategists meant by the twofold gaze. One part of the mind sees what is near. The other sees what is far. One notices detail. The other feels the whole. When these two work together, nothing is missed and nothing is exaggerated. Small things are seen without being feared. Large things are seen without being overwhelming. This is clarity. When this balance is lost, the mind collapses into sight alone. It chases what is bright, loud, or close. It loses its distance. It loses its ground. It begins to feel pulled instead of settled. But when perception is restored, the mind comes home. There is a quiet feeling that follows this. A sense that nothing is out of place. Not because everything is perfect, but because everything is seen. This is the natural rhythm. Natural rhythm is not slow and not fast. It is simply in time. It does not rush ahead of what is happening, and it does not lag behind. Each moment is met as it arrives. No effort is needed to stay with it. This is why true focus does not feel tense. Tension is the sound of resistance. Focus is the sound of alignment. When the inner rhythm matches the outer moment, there is no conflict. The mind does not argue with what is. It does not try to control it. It moves with it. This is the way. The way is not a set of rules. It is the shape of reality when it is not being resisted. When the mind is clear, it follows this shape without thinking about it. Action becomes simple. Attention becomes steady. Stillness remains even while movement continues. This is why the samurai did not chase calm. They created the conditions where calm could not be disturbed. When the spirit is settled, distraction has no place to grow. When perception is wide, nothing small can pull it apart. When rhythm is natural, nothing feels out of time. This is not something added. It is something uncovered. Under the noise, under the habits, under the rush, there is already a mind that knows how to be still. When fixedness falls away, that stillness appears on its own. You do not have to hold it. It holds you. This is what it means to stand in clarity. Not frozen, not drifting, but quietly present in the middle of all things. And from that place, nothing is lost.